name is Chris. I sing for, or I used to sing for Mushmouth / Out to Win. That's me.
Okay, that's a pretty big achievement.
Yeah, it was. We went from being a sort of I don't want to say a garage band because there was never a garage, but an apartment, a room in an apartment, band that was really just kind of something to do, and it's spawned into, a touring, record recording band, for 13 years or so. So it was a fun ride.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, as a longtime, fan of your band, every era of your band, I guess for those who are curious as to what the status of it is, I've heard stories of obviously you having moved out of PA years ago, but I guess I don't know the official status of Mushmouth Out to Win. And
the official status is I don't want to say broken up. We did an official last show back in 2007 in Baltimore, but we've played a few things here and there, a couple of shows, a few one-off, like just jump on stage and play a couple of songs at, friends' shows. But other than that, we really haven't done much else. It's not out of the question to play more shows. It's just a lot of us have other things going on in our lives, kids and other responsibilities, jobs, mortgages, things of that nature. So, it happens. We still, the other guys in the band, they do Wisdom in Chains, which is, an absolute success. And, I would never want to, impede on what they're doing at all. They're such a great band and loved by so many different, different genres within the hardcore and metal scene. Even, we if we were to even do anything, it wouldn't be something that would interfere with what they're doing.
Sure.
But it's not out of the question to play shows.
What kind of stuff have you been through in recent years? Struggles that you had to overcome. Maybe some people can relate to or not, but just stuff that you've been through in recent years.
Nothing traumatic. The typical, losing jobs and things of that nature. Really it was just, back when we decided to sort of disband, Mushmouth or Out to Win. It was just, there were other responsibilities that needed to take place, and it was, me personally, it was getting my life in order to secure a future, because, as a band, I love playing shows. I love being, a part of, this whole scene. As a band, an active show playing band or touring band, it wasn't financially viable for me. And needed to kind of get my things in order, and it took a little while to do that because I'd spent so much time in the band, and so much time, like, even years prior to that, like going to shows and spending all of my money traveling around the East Coast, just going to shows everywhere from Massachusetts down to DC and North Carolina, and out to like Chicago and Detroit and places like that. So there was never, it's not like I saved money, and I was a pretty heavy drinker at that time, so I really didn't have necessarily any direction, and it was kind of tough getting into the swing of things with finding a career path. And it was what it was. Everybody kind of chooses their own destiny, so it wasn't something that I dwelled on, but it was just something that was a necessity for me to find out what I could do to kind of grow and secure my future. There was, and like I said, there have been no like major tragedies in my life, like of course family members pass away, or like whatever, things like that. You have friends that have the same sort of stuff happen, but I mean, I still have all, I live in Florida, and everybody from my band still lives in PA. But I come up here twice a year to hang out with everybody and see, them as well as the other bands that we grew with. And it's sort of like a reunion every 6 months to a year. I get to see pretty much the majority of the people I was hanging out, I've been hanging out with for the last 15 years, 15 or 20 years. So.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I can definitely relate to that, having, had to get my own life in order over the last number of years after having devoted a good part of it to the scene and covering bands and traveling and all that stuff, Are you happy with where your life is at the moment?
Oh, I love it. I have 2 kids, a wife, and I think I'm a firm believer in fate. So everything that happened, in my past led me to where I am right now. So I couldn't be happier. I live in a good area, and I have a decent job. My wife has a decent job. We have like I said, two kids that are awesome kids, and just, I guess you could call it living the American dream. It is what it is. I mean, I wouldn't change anything. I mean, if I would have done things differently at certain points in my life, I probably wouldn't be, where I am right now. I might still be sitting here right now, but I might not, have my kids or my wife or something like that. So everything that's transpired, in my life led me to here. So I have zero regrets over anything I've done.
Cool. I'm glad to hear that. So life's obviously calmed down for you since your days in Mushmouth.
Oh, absolutely.
In more ways than one, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Thinking back to those days, I mean, your music was quite rowdy. Very, just balls out, tough guy. It wasn't even contained by anything, it seemed. It was really balls to the wall. Almost a punk rock take on, extremely metallic hardcore.
Right.
That's what it seemed like. What are some of your, I guess, more gruesome or, death-defying memories from those days?
Realistically, the most, the scariest points in our career as a band were actually while on the road, literally driving, more so than the shows we played or the things that happened in bars or wherever. It was more so like driving down the Massachusetts Turnpike at 85 miles an hour on wheels that we bought from a junkyard and having a recap blow off a tire at 80 miles an hour in a cargo van with 6 people in it with 0 seatbelts, and we could have all died. And luckily the tire didn't pop, and we were able to change the tire, but it was pretty sketchy. Then actually one time, in Canada, we were driving to a show in Toronto, and our driver, it was raining, and he was definitely a road rager, and he just couldn't get over people driving too slow, and he was driving really close to people, and somebody slammed on their brakes, and we went sliding off the side of the road, and again, it was 70 miles an hour easily, and anything could have happened. We didn't make very smart choices. I mean, there was a lot of drinking and driving and under the influence of whatever and driving, and it was poor choices that a lot of people in bands make. We were just fortunate enough to not have anything drastic or that detrimental happen to us, aside from the slap on the wrist from the police here and there. I mean, we were very lucky, that we didn't get arrested or go to jail for it. But outside of that, I mean, there was the obvious, at shows, fights and whatnot. I wouldn't really consider those. I don't know. To me, just being in the moment, it was never really. It never seem life-threatening to me. And I guess it's just because going to shows for that long and being going to places like City Gardens in New Jersey and going to places like 930 Club and places like that back in the day. The element of fear was there already, and when we started touring and playing shows, I mean, there was always the element of like something's going to pop off at some point, It's just you never know when, so why dwell on it? And if it does, it does, and you just deal with it in that moment and move on. That's kind of how we all thought all the time. It wasn't, none of us really feared for our lives. I mean, there was stuff that happened in Philly with, people were pointing guns at us, and all we did was, ask them if they were man enough to pull the trigger, and not realizing, looking back on it now was a really poor choice, but then we all had big balls. Definitely with having 2 kids now and whatnot, if I was to be in a touring band, I probably wouldn't make that same choice. I'm sure somebody half my age who's in a band would probably do that and with no kids, but sure. It's not something that I would do anymore. I mean, I'm a little more methodic about the things that I do.
How do you keep your family together, and why do you think so many families just can't keep it together?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's just there's obvious things like, there's got to be compromise. There's got to be sort of a mutual understanding of boundaries and just how things should work in a relationship. I went through so many ridiculous relationships in my life. The one that I'm in now is, I guess to me, it seems like it's the quintessential relationship. I mean, we have the same mentality when it comes to how our marriage should run. So, with us, it's just compromise and choosing our battles and being on the same page and communication. Obviously, I'm no preacher, and I don't know everything about marriage and how it works and the ins and outs, but it seems like we got a pretty decent formula going. And even with having I have a 4-year-old and a 3-month-old, and the 4-year-old is a maniac, and it definitely puts some strain on the relationship between myself and my wife. But we just have to sit back and kind of realize where we are with it, and what we're doing, and realizing that we are parents, and there's always going to be stressful situations, and we're both pretty good at stepping back from the situation and assessing it before exploding. It just seems to work out really well that way. I mean, it's neither of us are very outspoken, opinionated people, so we're tactful about how we handle things.
I won't keep you any longer. I really do thank you for your time, Chris.
Yeah, sure. It was great to see you again. It's been too long, man.
Yeah.
It's great to be here with all these people, all the familiar faces, and faces from the past.
Yeah.
Seeing a Mushmouth hat for the first time in 8 years.
There you go.
Yeah.
Last question I'll ask is about, I guess, your music. Someone told me that you guys were listening to a lot of new metal when you were writing Lift the Curse. Lift the Curse came out, it was a little bit down-tuned. Someone in the band...
Were you talking to Dom?
I was talking to Joe or Rich. And I think one of them said that, I think it was actually Rich who said that someone in the band listened to a lot of El Nino at the time Jorge was in the band.
I was.
Okay.
I was turned on to them when I found out that George from Marauder was doing that band. When they took it to that next level, I was trying to stay into it, and I just really wasn't feeling it. It was a little too refined.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of bands out there. I'm a big fan of heavy guitars, and I started hearing when the Black Dahlia Murder came out, I really love their guitar sound, but their music in general just drives me insane. Not that they're a bad band by any means, but just I tested the waters with a lot of those bands. I'm still a fan of certain bands. Shadows Fall is playing tonight. I'm a fan of Shadows Fall. I have been since their inception, really. Since before Brian was even in the band.
Sure.
I like heavy music, and I come from the metal scene anyway. like I said, I tested the waters with some of these other bands. Like, you know, the El Nino thing went a certain direction that I didn't like, and I stopped listening to them. And, you know, not making excuses by any means, but there were some other bands like, you know, Chimera and gosh, who else? Like Killswitch Engage. Like, I mean, I like heavy guitars.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was really digging that stuff. And, you know, we did, I think some of that came out maybe in Lift the Curse a little bit. Not really in the respect of, like, you know, not vocally.
No.
But, you know, we were just messing around with some stuff. I think we had too much time in the studio to screw around.
Okay.
And we just, I don't know, messed around with some things. And, you know, looking back on it, some of the stuff that really didn't work. But, you know, whatever, it is what it is, you know?
Yeah, I thought all the records were great in their own right, especially the first three. You know, so just a huge fan of that stuff. And anyways, it's stuff I still listen to this day, and I'll probably listen to for the rest of my life. So
Well, that's cool. I appreciate that.
Yeah. I think it holds up. Even the first recording with AJ, you know, really raw. You know, at first I was like, holy shit, this punched me right in the face.
Yeah, it was. I mean, we had fun with that. We did it in 2 days. We did, you know, we tracked everything the first day, just kind of get the levels, and then the next day we did every single bit of that was one take. One take, first try, like straight through. Even doing the drum tracks, like they were all first take.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, but we were amped. We were playing those songs for like 3 years.
Right.
And, you know, we had them down. We had them dialed in so much. But then, you know, we started writing those other songs, and we did it within, you know, like a year and a half, and we really didn't have them all that refined. And realistically, I don't even think we had all the songs before we went in the studio. You know, we were kind of making shit up. And
Yeah.
that's kind of what happened with me. I was writing stuff. I was writing lyrics upon lyrics upon lyrics, and like then I got in the studio and realized I had like 40 pages of all the same thing.
Right.
And I spent days like sitting in a room, like just going over like stuff in my head, and, you know, just, I don't know. It wasn't a solid process with that record, with Lift the Curse, but
Yeah.
you know, it was what it, like I said, it was what it was. And you know, I would go back and change things. Like, I'm sure Chris and Jotham and Richie would probably do the same thing, but, you know, shit happens. It's all progression.
I thought it was an amazing album, to be honest. It really, you know, blew when it came out. It really.
Well, I appreciate that.
So yeah, I mean,
A couple of good songs on it.
Yeah, I mean, Cold, Bitter, the one with James.
Yeah, Here to Stay.
Yeah.
That's like one of my favorite songs that we've ever written. It's just so like punch you in the mouth. Like,
Yeah.
it was good. I had fun just doing that song. You know, we had a good time doing that song, and I liked having Jimmy on all the records. Like,
Yeah.
that was kind of a thing for me. Like, I mean, that first, I wanted him on the first record, and I was like, well, you know, we're writing this song, and it's like a, you know, a tough guy song or whatever you want to call it. And I said, I want to have like one of the ultimate tough guys in the hardcore scene on the record. And so we got a hold of him, and he was down to do it, and he did it. And then, you know, kind of spawned this friendship. And from then on, when we started doing the other records, you know, it was a choice to do more, you know, with him.
Yeah. Well, anyways, big inspiration. Thank you for your time again, Chris.
Yeah, sure.
We wish you all the best with you and your family. And yeah.
I appreciate it.
Look forward to the weekend, and let's keep in touch.
It'd be a fun time. Yeah, definitely. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thank you, bro.